And welcome into the Tuesday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/getitall. Live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Connor Newt in for Ian Safar again today, who remains in parts unknown on vacation. Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Just looking at this Denzel Clark.
That's unbelievable.
That's a catch. That's the Denzel Clark of the A's. If anybody missed it, that's catch of the year. I'm gonna guess.
You know, every now and then,
chance we catch of the year.
You and I, because we don't really have a whole lot of things to watch on the studio TVs at 6 a.m. Shockingly, you know, the top 10 plays from SportsCenter are frequent appearances in our viewing habits in the morning.
Yes,
and I would say. I don't know if more times than not is correct, but many times some of the baseball catches that they put in these top plays, it's like, okay, cool. Good catch, dude. Yeah, that one, I think that is no lie, one of the greatest catches I've ever seen by a center fielder. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he went way over. That was like a clear home run. It wasn't like right at it was gonna clear the fence by
about
10
like
feet.
6 feet. Yeah, it's crazy.
And to do it all in one motion, the way he did it too, you know, kind of bring himself back around, pretty awesome. Yes, they I think sometimes, I'm sure the people who work on the top 10 plays work hard, but sometimes I feel like they're just like, yeah, there's a pretty good play by the shortstop, throw that in there. And obviously, certain times of year you have less stuff to pick from, but that one was wow,
no doubt about that. Connor Newt, how we doing? What's going on?
I'm waking up. I'm not a total shell of myself like I was yesterday.
I'm pretty sure that Connor Newt was dead for about half the show yesterday. He does look a little bit more lively this morning.
Like I went to bed at 9, so I'm relaxed.
Did you even know how to do that? Like, when's the last time you went to sleep at 9 o'clock?
Probably 10, 15 years ago. I mean, God. But I took a little nap yesterday after the show, and then I went to bed at 9. So I'm well rested.
All right.
I will do the same thing again today.
Okay.
There you go.
I didn't know if Newt was going to make it through the whole week after yesterday's show, but he looks like he's making progress today. Good stuff.
We're getting there.
That's good.
You'll be tired AF on Friday, but it'll be Friday.
What's AF? Is that as fart?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes. There you go.
Very well done. George on the YouTube chat saying, I didn't hear the call, but I heard Robbie's meltdown when I was driving yesterday and almost ran off the road. Some other YouTubers talking about my long fuse as well. So good stuff. I've been into Rexrode territory.
I know. I tell you what, it's time. If you're going to talk bad about the Vols, Robbie's going to scream at you. So just be ready. It's the new era of the show. And by the way, hit us up in the YouTube chat today.
Yeah, we need the comments on the YouTube chat. I'm not going to say the text line is down. I'm going to say that we have been kicked out of the text line.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably more accurate.
How does that happen?
So we have been forcibly removed from the text line until further notice. So until that time in which we're back in there, hit up our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. And, of course, our YouTube chat, which is already flowing this morning here on the program. So we appreciate everybody on those fronts.
Just be careful what you say about the Vols.
Yeah.
You know what will happen to you.
You better watch out for the rest of the show today. Not a great Game 3 in the Stanley Cup Final last night. It had been an awesome series up until that point. And last night, I mean, Florida basically just slapped Edmonton up and down the ice. I thought it was a combination of a couple of things. I thought Florida got to their game obviously way quicker than the Oilers ever did. The Oilers really didn't. It was a combination as the game went on, as Florida looking like they were at their best and Edmonton being off. And that's how you end up with a 6-1 final between these two teams. It was a weird game. I mean, the first period, it was basically a penalty fest. Like, it was a power play competition in the first period. And then Florida broke out a little bit in the second, and it felt like about halfway through the second period for the remainder of the game, Edmonton wasn't actually interested in making a comeback. They were interested in trying to level things up physically.
Yep.
And they had spent all this time talking about, how they were probably a more emotionally mature team, and they had older guys this year, and they were more ready for the playoffs. And they did not look like that last night. They looked like they let Florida get under their skin. And I still it's gone the way, going back to look at weekend winners, it's gone the way that I've thought it would so far. And I fully anticipate a huge Edmonton response coming up in game 4. But I will say, Joe, like game 4 is a pretty massive moment for the Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl era in Edmonton. If they lose game 4, it's not over, as we saw last year, but they're down 3-1. And the idea that you're just going to like always mount this comeback against Florida, like I just don't think that's living in the land of realism. So I think game 4 is absolutely massive for the McDavid, Draisaitl era and what the future of all that could look like coming up on Thursday.
Absolutely. It was, I mean, they should be embarrassed. They should be embarrassed with how they reacted, given the stakes and how they just completely let Florida take them off their game. And I mean, I like the endless scrap that it basically, it was just like, finally it's like, okay, guys, can we separate you? I don't even have to do anything to separate you. They just like fall away and, but I mean, they just completely lost their composure. At some point, like this happens in a hockey game, you're lose. It's clear you're going to lose. And, okay, so you're going to get a little measure of teams learned they hate each other real quickly in these series. These guys already have a history, but I thought it was too quickly that they lost their composure.
It's like the middle of the second period.
Yeah. Like they still could have made a game of it. And I agree. It sets up just a gigantic moment for them, which as a sports fan, like I hope they respond. I mean, I don't really want you to get the lock and the 2 points and tie me up in weekend winners, which is what will happen, but I still have to root for it.
Yeah, like first off, I think it would be a shame if Florida just wraps this thing. Like if they go up 3-1 and it's like, all right, well, Edmonton is just going to have such an uphill climb. Like I think this series deserves a little back and forth. I think you're going to see a little back and forth. And frankly, like it's hard for Edmonton to play much worse than they did last night. So I think you're going to see a much better effort. But I did about halfway through the game last night get reminded, Joe, of, yeah, you idiot. Why did you pick against Florida in this series? Like, why, until proven otherwise at this point, why would you ever pick against Florida? And I did think about that about halfway through the game.
And the next time McDavid slices through everyone and makes some ridiculous play and Draisaitl finishes it to win the game, you'd be like,
that's why.
That's why.
Yeah. No, it's I fully expect a response from McDavid and Draisaitl specifically in game 4, where like every now and then McDavid gets in one of those modes where you basically are going to have to like peel him off the ice if you're going to stop him from doing anything. And I feel like he'll probably play that way on Thursday. But like, say they lose and they're coming back and they eventually just get eliminated here in this series. Like there's no guarantee that you're getting back there if he stays, right? Like,
of course not.
Will they at some point, let's say he signs a long-term deal this offseason, will they get back there at some point? Probably, because those two are so good that they just don't need a ton of help to get there. But, I mean, right now they're in the prime of their career. It's very difficult to get back there 3 years in a row. And look, I have no idea how Connor McDavid is going to view this if they lose, right? Like, especially if they come out and they just get punked again and they lose in 5 to Florida. Like, how's he going to view that moving forward? So I've said it. If I was him, like I would keep every one of my options open until the moment where I no longer can keep one of my options open. I don't know if he views it the same way, but it's a pretty massive – I can tell you that's going to be a huge talking point heading into game 4 of just how big this moment is for that group in game 4 coming up on Thursday.
Yeah. Look, no question about it. Draisaitl's 29, McDavid's 28. They have great years left, but they don't have, they're not 25 and 24 anymore, which was 4 years ago, by the way. Thank you.
It was.
That's per my math.
That's good stuff.
So, yeah, I mean, look, if you're him, you would have to me, I think you'd have to look around and keep your options open. Like you said, maybe he's resolved and it's like, no, this is it. I'm going to be an Edmonton Oiler the rest of my career. Certainly playing with Draisaitl,
very appealing.
It's a force multiplier without question. But yeah, he can make a lot of players better and excel in a lot of situations.
And even beyond though, just the idea of maybe him leaving at some point, it's time for those two, as great players as they are, like they got to win a championship, right? Like even if you're assuming that they're just going to be together, the rest of their career. I mean, you're going on, I think this is year 11 for McDavid, right? So, I mean, it's hard to believe, but this is where they're supposed to be winning. Like, they're right smack in the middle of their prime right now, and they're supposed to be winning championships. So, I think all of that said, you're going to see them respond in a big way in Game 4, and I think they'll probably win. The one thing that makes me nervous if you're an Edmonton fan is I don't think that Stuart Skinner was awful last night. I think some of the goals that there's just not a whole lot that you can do about it. But I heard him talking about this on the TNT broadcast. Like, it just felt like one of those games that leaves you looking at him and saying, man, is he about to just collapse? And do you make a goaltending change heading into Game 4? Like, Knobloch, the coach of the Oilers, has not been afraid to change the goalies around in the playoffs over the last 2 years. I don't think he'll change it going into Game 4, but that is going to be a huge talking point heading into that game is what they're going to do with the goalie.
And he's played really well at times
during
this run. But, yeah, I mean, there was some between periods analysis of, what he was doing with his feet and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I thought it was very interesting. And, yeah, you can't have that. I mean, you already are under siege. Like, any goalie in this matchup against that team right now it's tough sledding, and if you have a softy or two added to the mix, I mean, that's the difference.
Yeah. And again, I don't think he was terrible last night, but I do think there, especially earlier in the game, there's probably a goal or two that went in that you just like to see your goalie stop in a big game like that. And he didn't do it. So, there's a lot that went wrong for Edmonton last night, but I was kind of stunned that they got punked as badly as they did by the Panthers last night. Now Florida leads 2-1 in the best-of-7 series. Speaking of Florida, I think there is going to be a natural question that many Predators fans will ask whenever this series is done and free agency begins, and it relates to the Florida Panthers. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, and our YouTube chat on our 102.5 The Game YouTube page. So, Joe, there's a question that at the moment I saw a little bit from Predators fans last night. I think you'll hear more of as we get closer to the offseason. And that is, what about Sam Bennett of the Florida Panthers, who is just having an unbelievable postseason right now? He will be a free agent. He is does not have a contract extension with the Florida Panthers coming on yet. Now, a couple of things on the Bennett front. Number one, we have heard Barry Trotz say that he does not expect to be overly active in free agency this summer, right? He said basically this class, not a whole lot out there. And I would generally agree with that. Now, I think Sam Bennett is a very good player. And I think that as a centerman, he's going to get a pretty good raise from what he's making right now. Now, having said all that, I would be absolutely stunned if Florida lets him get away. I don't think Florida is ultimately going to let him get away. A lot of the reporting around it right now is it's very highly likely that he's back in Florida. So keep all that in mind when we enter into this discussion. He's an interesting guy because Bennett is a 4th overall pick from back in 2014, which, by the way, they ran this graphic last night, which is kind of unbelievable to believe. Like, go look at the first 4 picks in the 2014 draft. They're all playing in this series. 3 of them are on Florida, and then there's Draisaitl on Edmonton. So that's pretty incredible. But Bennett is a guy that if you look out through the course of his career in the regular season, his career high for points in a year is this year 51, which is good. Like, there's nothing wrong with a 51-point season. But you look at the way that he's played in the playoffs, and if you had never watched him play before, you would think that he's like a 100-point guy.
Yeah.
And you look at the last 3 postseasons for him, he had, let's see here, 15 points in 20 games in their run to the final in 2023. He had 14 points last year, 7 goals, 7 assists in 19 games when they won the championship. And then so far this year, he's got 14 goals, 20 points in 20 games. And if they win the Cup, probably is going to win the Conn Smythe. That's where he's at right now. So I did see it last night from some Predators fans of, Sam Bennett, he plays center. Go out there and get him. I don't think he's going to make it to free agency. Frankly, if he did, I don't think he would choose the Predators based on where their roster is right now. But I do like the idea from Predators fans out there.
Absolutely. Well, every once in a while, the Athletic asked me to do a little Preds thing, a little Titans thing. And last week, they had the question of who should they go after in free agency. I mean, Sam Bennett. I wrote the same thing. It's like, he's probably not going to leave. And also, why would he pick the Preds? However, if there is a target in free agency, absolutely it's this guy. You're talking about the opposite of some of the, you talk about players who do things in the regular season, all of a sudden the time and space gets taken away, and then they look like different players, not in a good way in the postseason. This guy, the way he plays, he's a beast, man. And it'd be a great addition for the Preds or for a lot of teams, but
I don't think it's going to get there.
They have some choices to make, but I don't see how he's not the choice.
No, I don't either. I mean, the play that he made last night, I mean, more specifically, I guess the shift that he had last night where he just delivers a totally legal, perfectly bone-crunching open ice check in the middle of the ice. He works to help get the puck back, and then he gets sprung free on a breakaway. And like he had Stuart Skinner almost going the complete opposite direction when he finished the goal, going from backhand to forehand. I mean, that was a Conn Smythe type of shift. Like if he wins the Conn Smythe, they go on to win the Cup and he's the playoff MVP. That sequence last night's going to be the first thing they show is him just blowing the guy up over the middle, helping win the puck back, and then getting sprung free on a breakaway and making like a high level move to put the goal in. Like it was awesome play by Sam Bennett last night. It's just weird to me how you look at his regular season stats and he's like, he's good. He's an okay player. And then he turns into just an absolute monster in the playoffs.
Yeah. So does he preserve himself a little bit
I think
the regular season?
I think there's a little bit of something to that with this team specifically this year. I think there's a little something to that. But again, last year he played in 69 games for the Panthers, had 40 points. Again, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
Like, I'm not trying to –
the Preds would take that.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to dismiss the fact that he's basically been like a 40, 45, 50-point guy throughout his career, because there's nothing wrong with that. But again, like, you watch him play in the playoffs, and if you'd never seen him play before, you would think that he's like an MVP candidate in the regular season every year.
Right. Yeah, it's and that's the thing too. If you go through a run like last year and you take it all the way as far as you can take it, and you know you're good enough to do it this year, like you understand what a strain that is on you. You know, I mean, you have to do a little bit of maintenance.
A lot of conversation in the YouTube chat about like if you're the Calgary Flames, you used to have Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
and of course the Tkachuk stuff from a couple years ago here.
Yeah,
you know, that's tough too. Also tough that Jared Morris says that Splenda is better than Stevia, dude. That is a terrible.
I got to be honest with you. I don't know that I've ever had Stevia. I really don't. I don't know that I've ever had it. Are you about to hand me a packet of Stevia out of your pocket?
I mean, if I don't have Stevia in my pocket right now, it's a huge upset. I promise you I have some in my bag. I'll get you some, man, before the end of the show.
Appreciate it.
I mean, it's my lifeblood, Stevia.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I just don't think that I've ever actually done it.
There hasn't been a study yet. There has been with every other sweetener about like the diseases it'll give you. As of this point, I believe Stevia. It's it's Stevia leaf. It's all natural.
That's good.
Yeah, and then you can do Truvia, which is like it's Stevia based. But it tastes the best by far, and it won't kill you, as far as we know.
That's good.
Yet until the new study comes out that tells you why it will kill you. But I haven't seen it yet.
That's good.
Yep.
Here's another thing on the Preds front that I think we could probably just go ahead and shut down, because I know we're going to get questions about it as we get closer to July 1st. I don't think the Predators are going to go after Mitch Marner. I think you could probably safely say
that was the other question.
Marner's probably not going to be on the radar for the Predators.
Yeah, that was the two questions when the Athletic how heavily should the team go after Mitch Marner, and then what should be the target for. And a year ago, we had a very different discussion about Marner without knowing all the stuff that was going to come, of the free agency period. That's like, hey, he may not be Barry Trotz's kind of guy, but it's also a big-time talent. You can't just – now I think there's absolutely no reason to even look at it, in my opinion.
I wouldn't either. Now, look, I say there's no – I don't think the Predators are doing that. I more specifically probably don't think Marner's doing that. But like if you're the Predators, I don't know that Marner. I'm not gonna say he can't help you right now because he's still a really good player. I watch him play in the playoffs, and some of the things that he doesn't do in terms of like the puck battles and being a little bit soft, quite frankly. And I look at that and I say, yeah, I don't know that Barry Trotz would love that. Like no. I don't know that screams Barry Trotz guy, Mitch Marner.
Not at all. He did yell at his teammates.
He did.
Though,
yeah. To which I think I would have said, really?
You're saying
yelling?
That? Yeah. Okay, Mitch.
Very interesting stuff going on out there. But it will be all very interesting to see what the Predators do when free agency comes. As I've said, they're going to do something. Like just because Barry Trotz says they're not going to be as active doesn't mean they're going to be totally inactive by the time the free agency comes around. But I would wonder if it's more on the defensive side of things where they start to take a look when free agency comes around. So we'll see
Alex Carrier
what happens on. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe get
Dante Fabro. He available?
Maybe trade back for Carrier or Fabro is available. Just go sign him. Again.
Okay, there you go.
Let's go do that.
Those are some good targets.
Jared on the YouTube chat says, "Give me the Splenda and the disease." So that's where Jared has drawn the line in the sand. I will take the disease. I will take the Splenda.
Have you not noticed that it tastes like crap too?
We got more conversation to get into on the college football front, college sports, based off the House settlement that we had yesterday, plus a new acronym that Rexrode is convinced you better get used to talking about in the world of college sports. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. We will have Justin Melo of the Draft Network, author of Titans of the South, coming up at 7 o'clock. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. Blake Toppmeyer from USA Today will join us at 8:30, and we'll get into the house settlement, all things college sports with Blake a little bit later in the show. Our YouTube chat is flowing. Join us on the YouTube chat. Our text line is not down, but we have been locked out. Rexrode and I have been forcibly removed from the text line. So keep them coming on the phone line. You can call us, or the YouTube chat, which continues to take shots at Rexrode, basically, is what's going on over there.
Yeah. Got to, bring up the NBA take.
People are very upset with your NBA take over the last few days.
I'm so sorry that the teams of long ago would dominate. I think my favorite one of all of them was like, well, Will Chamberlain scoring 100. What does that tell you? I think it tells you exactly what I'm saying to you.
Maybe the talent level wasn't
Do
up
you
to
think
par?
Will Chamberlain would score 100 now?
I'm going to say
It's
probably
like
not.
turning around and dropping it in the hoop. These little kids like, I mean, it's like.
Some of those clips are fun to watch from back in the old days.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Really good stuff. Joe, we discussed the House settlement yesterday and what this could mean for the future of college sports and how the money basically is just going to be allocated here moving forward. So program schools basically have $20.5 million to really just do whatever they want to do with in terms of payment to the players. And then you still have traditional NIL stuff that is going to be continued to go on, although maybe enforcement of it, we'll see if that actually works and it's quote unquote real NIL that they're able to enforce. But tell us about another thing that has come out of all this, which is the College Sports Commission, which is a new term that you believe college sports fans around the country need to familiarize themselves with, and that we'll be talking a lot about over the next few years here. What is the College Sports Commission? Why is it important? And what sort of a role is it about to play in the world of college sports?
Yeah. So the CSC will be like if someone said NIL to you 5 years ago.
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Right. Like trying to think like Nana in law or something like
Nice.
that.
That's good.
Maybe something like that, right? Nana in law.
Very well done.
NIL. Well, now people just use that as a replacement for money now.
Yeah.
I want to get some NIL. Well, what do you mean? Give me some NIL. Like money? Okay. That's what it means. It just means money.
Yeah.
So the CSC will be, it'll be another one of these college sports acronyms. Just get used to it. CSC, the College Sports Commission. The thing is, people who I respect, who are smarter than me, who are in college athletics, I've talked to are like, actually, if you listen to the whole presentation, it's actually pretty impressive. Like, I think it's got a chance. Okay. That's the only reason I'm not like completely melting down right now. Because I can't get there, but I'm trying to keep an open mind. So this is basically going to replace the NCAA when it comes to like the NCAA will still be enforcing, like I believe like the counter-stallion stuff is happening this week, right? Like the Michigan hearing, be very interesting to see what they get. Michigan and Ohio State fans continue to scream at each other, and PK Subban has a really cool hat on behind you. Look at all the hats.
I did notice that. I was like, wow, it's PK Subban. All right.
But I'm so weirded out by this hat situation on the TV. But I believe like if there's another Connor Stallion situation, I think the NCAA would still deal with that. I know they definitely will still deal with academic stuff, eligibility stuff. But any money stuff now, basically, is this College Sports Commission. And so it goes live tomorrow. So starting tomorrow, any third-party NIL deal, that's name, image, likeness, worth at least $600. $600 or more. Anything that's $600 more. $598, you're good. Anybody can give you $500 and just up to $600 and you're fine.
Basically anything is taxable. These guys are stepping in there.
So now there'll be this clearinghouse. It's called NIL Go. The whole thing sounds like, is this real? This is some made up stuff just to mess with people. NIL Go, and it's run by Deloitte, very, very powerful accounting firm in the world. That goes live tomorrow. So from now on, the CSC is going to be, essentially enforcing these rules and trying to evaluate whether these things are fair market. It's also, they're trying to evaluate, is this a reasonable amount of money? Is this, which again, my brain starts leaking out of my ears when I hear this stuff. This sounds so stupid. I'm trying to keep an open mind. And so I think it's a lot of hope and it's just a big Hail Mary to me of all these people in college sports who want guardrails and they want this, because I think lawyers right now are absolutely just salivating at this situation. But this is what they're going to try to do. And they've hired Brian Seeley. This is a guy who has been with MLB. We got a lot of MLB to college football crossover lately. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I don't either. But
he has been the longtime head of investigations. Now, they've had some investigations in MLB. They've had some stuff. So he at least has experience with investigations. But he is now going to be the head of this CAC. So Brian Seeley, which, again, I'm reading my guy Ralph Russo's story in The Athletic about him, saying he immediately could become one of the most powerful people in college sports. I think he and this organization could be one of the most lampooned things in college sports. But we'll see.
We will. Another thing in this piece by Russo, which we've talked about, and I'm going to be interested to see in actuality how this plays out. They're talking about these formal agreements that they want the schools and the institutions to sign, where basically they I don't know if contract is the right word, but they're like, we will abide by the rulings that you guys make here. And it's like, okay, well, that all sounds great in theory. But again, as we discussed yesterday, Joe, like these schools and specifically like these football programs and major men's basketball programs and places where there's just a lot of money involved, a lot of things at stake, and a hyper competitive environment. They have been looking for every possible advantage from the history of time. Forget the NIL stuff. Like from the moment they started playing competitive sports, teams, programs, schools have been looking for every competitive advantage in sports that they could possibly get. So now I guess I'm just supposed to expect, Joe, that this CSC, this commission that they're putting together, is going to come up with these rules and regulations and guidelines and expect all these institutions to then sign it and then I guess hold each other accountable after that. And I keep thinking to myself, how long have we watched college sports? Like, do we actually think that that's going to happen? Do we think that like Georgia is going to be trying to land some recruit and they're going to be like, well, I don't know. We've kind of run out of money, so I just guess we'll let this guy go to Alabama. Like, I don't think we're living in reality with that type of thought process.
I totally agree with you. Again, I totally agree with you. And the problem is, like I said, there are some people who in the SEC who think, you know what, this actually has a chance. And I'm everything you just said, I totally agree with. I'm like, why? Why would it have a chance? Like, you guys are you're gonna trample all over each other to get these top players, because this can make the difference between the championship
because
or
you
not
always
winning a
have.
championship.
And that was even before NIL. You always have.
Exactly. So the hope is, like, one thing about the CSC, you cut through some of the red tape. That's one thing I've heard, is it should be a lot more nimble and quick to respond. It's a much more confined group, that you're trying to police and monitor. Yep. Everyone says they're all in. Everyone says the rallying cry to counter what you said, which again, I agree with 100%, but the rallying cry to counter it is, we're all going to run out of money. That's basically like all of us. Yes, we all want to win all this stuff, but like our boosters they don't have like an endless, pit of money. And if we don't try to take some kind of control of this, like that, we're all going to be screwed. That's what people are saying. Now, again, there are some boosters at some places. They're like, actually, I pretty much do have a limitless amount of money, and I'm going to continue to spend it to get players.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Oregon's boosters are running out of money anytime soon.
Phil's okay.
Yeah.
He's going to be all right. So I'm very, and again, even if they are doing these things and they are trying to actually police it, then the lawyers come in and it's like, really? You're telling me that my deal, that's not a reasonable. How does Deloitte determine that? What's a reasonable amount? Here's what a reasonable amount is. What someone will pay you to play football for them. That's what the reasonable amount is.
Isn't that kind of how we operate in this country?
As far as I know, that's kind of how we live. I don't know. Call me crazy. I mean, so again, it's like I'm trying to keep an open mind because I wish I saw all the presentations. Deloitte did all this stuff and showed them, and they were like, okay, that actually could work. So I don't know all the mechanisms here in place, but I do know the history and human nature. And like you said, you go back to college sports. The reason conferences exist is because people were just like hiring like 35-year-old farm boys to play fullback in 1903 for Iowa and just crushing Illinois, with ringers. It's like, well, we probably should police some of this stuff.
That's the last time we're letting that farm boy out there from Iowa. The last time.
I mean, it was like Iowa was a huge. Apparently, they had the ringers, man, just full-grown men going. Wait, those guys don't go to the University of Iowa, killing people.
That guy's 37 years old. It's unbelievable. So we'll take your thoughts, your reaction to the College Sports Commission. Can they police college athletics and what it is today? Will it work? Or is this going to be a total disaster? We'll take more of your thoughts on that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Staley's Chicago Italian Dining, one of Nashville's best-kept secrets and winners of numerous Best of awards. Enjoy authentic Italian beef sandwiches, Vienna Chicago dogs, and the best gyros south of Chicago. Get half off a $20 gift card while supplies last at theGameNashville.com/deals. Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Justin Melo will join us coming up here at 7 o'clock. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him as minicamp is about to be underway. Blake Toppmeyer from USA Today will join us at 8:30 to help us talk a little bit more about what we're discussing now, and that is the House settlement and the College Sports Commission that has been put in to be implemented tomorrow in the aftermath of that. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025 and in our YouTube chat as well. Brandon on the YouTube chat, Joe, says college football needs an MLB luxury tax model. You'll never get the haves to not figure out a way to gain a competitive advantage. What do you make of that? The luxury tax model. I've never heard that one suggested before.
Well, they got the MLB guy here who his quote is, quote, "I view this as an area where I can really add value," end quote. Sounds exactly like an NCAA suit right away. You'll fit right in, Brian.
He does.
Perfect. Also his quote is saying that I don't view this as the professionalization of college sports. Well, you missed that. That's you're well past that. Now the point made here, Seeley has done some investigations, about circumventing the salary cap, which again, there's not a hard salary cap in MLB anyway, but there is one for international talent acquisition. So he investigated some of those rules that the Braves broke in 2017. Braves GM got a 5-year ban, John Coppolella. And then he also had the Red Sox did something in the international market too and punished them in 2016. So I don't know, if that really applies to this, but it's an investigation without subpoena power, which of course is a big problem. It has been a big problem for the NCAA all these years, right?
Yep.
When it comes down to it, they don't have subpoena power, so anybody can say, "No, I'm not going to talk to you. Thanks. Have a good day." And that'll be the same thing here for the CSC. The CSC is not going to have any more power than the NCAA does, but again, they believe these schools are all in because they're trying to help each other. And look, when you talk about professionalization, Robby, that is like in the NFL, you could make the case some of these franchises could be better off if there wasn't a cap, right? Like they
For
could,
sure. Yeah.
And some of these franchises have more revenue, have way more fans, bring in more money, but they all share it and they all abide by it. And again, the big key there is, of course, their labor collectively bargains. And then they typically get the best of their labor in those negotiations, but at least the labor negotiates and, okay, fine, we'll play an 18th game, bring us up to 49.5%, and let's go. Another issue there, of course, is that's one sport. It's 32 teams. The revenue's there and they share it. Whereas here we're talking, this isn't just college football,
right.
As all these other sports and all way more schools. And it's not, right now, I think this is 20%. This is for all college athletes. And I think the 20.5 million, I want to say it's in that range of about 20%. So again, that's for everybody. As opposed to like a pro league, you're close to 50-50 with the labor,
right?
And it's just for that sport. That, huge differences there, but the collectively bargained part of it, I think, is going to have to be part of this at some point. But hey, let's mess around with this for a few years. Why not?
I still think the most fascinating part of this commission specifically is going to be, okay, how are you enforcing the NIL stuff? And how are you determining what is quote unquote legitimate NIL and what's not? And how does that hold up when the first time you say, oh yeah, that's not legitimate, and the player involved and their representatives decide to sue you at that point? How does that hold up? Because we're going to get there.
Sure.
At some point. It's going to happen. Like the first time that they come back with some determination that such and such did not meet the requirements for NIL, they're going to get sued. And then what's going to happen from that point on? I don't know. That to me is going to be, when this is all said and done, how we evaluate the success or failure of this sports commission is, are they actually able to do anything and police that? Or is this just all some big yapping point that they've got right now that in actuality is not going to play out that way.
Yeah, it's like, so, I think, again, what they're hoping is that they can have quick responses, and okay, you're ineligible for 2 games or whatever, right?
Right.
It'll be heavily on ineligibility for the athlete in question, and maybe it could be like suspensions for coaches, stuff like that. But yeah, the legitimacy of an NIL deal. Again, so okay, I'm a Texas Tech booster. I own, whatever. I've got all this oil holdings, but I own several car dealerships. And yeah, I want to pay this guy $2 million to endorse my car.
Yeah.
And he's going to do a couple commercials.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you stop
You
that?
may think that that's ridiculous and that it's way overpaying and it's above market. But again, I got a lawyer.
Who sets the market?
I got a lawyer here who says, nope, actually, this is in my mind, it's market value. No, those are the type of things that we're going to get into. And I just don't see how it goes well for the people trying to hold down revenue for anyone. That is really like the overall message we get from the judicial side of American life is you can't restrict earnings.
Yeah.
If the market says, I want to pay this person for their services this much, you can't restrict that. We're trying, though. We are trying our damnedest here, college sports.
It is an interesting point, the one you bring up of basically the counter argument to a lot of this stuff, which is they're going to run out of money at some point. I mean, I have, and we've talked about this specifically as it relates to the booster, right? Like the boosters used to be, well, let's have a little money under the table here and let's not get caught doing it. But also, let's invest in our facilities. Let's invest in our football locker room.
And it's not it's like there'll be every few years you'd have a big thing, but it's not like every year we must have this more.
Right.
Now
but let's invest in all these different stuff. And we've talked about, like, it used to be basically an arms race for not only like who could under the table land some of these guys and have some financial incentive involved to it, but also like, I mean, some of the stuff that used to be in like the LSU locker room, like, oh, good, they all have their own like Xbox in their locker room and all this other stuff. Like, it was just absurd. And people talked about like going from college to the pros and what the difference was with some of their facilities.
Yeah.
Like, that's used to be what it was. And I have always wondered, since all this NIL stuff started, is like when you're reloading basically every year and you're just investing dollar after dollar in your roster, we've seen teams like kind of stop investing towards some of their facilities around the country. And at what point does that kind of catch up and change the way you operate if you're these boosters?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, definitely the facility. It's probably a good thing. And again, I'd rather see money go to people playing than like another.
Look at this fountain in here.
Fountain. Yeah. And honestly, like that really was. It was like hiding money. I mean, it was seriously something like being a drug cartel and having a fake business to set up to clean your money. I mean, it really was. So the money now is going where it should go, which is good. And yeah, like for example, Vanderbilt, I think it timed out pretty well for them because they just had to get up to date. And now, so they're building all this stuff, but they're going to be fine now for a long time. And yeah, we're not going to see all that stuff constantly go, which is a good thing. But yes, at what point do you, and it's like, how many times, because it will happen over and over again, will you say, this is a kid we need, and we, this is what we need, and it's $3 million a year or whatever it is, and then the kid doesn't pan out, and you're a booster, and your return on, if you're a booster and you invest in a facility, now granted, you want to see winning from that. So then if the coach doesn't win, the coach gets fired. But like, okay, the facility's there, it's beautiful, it worked. Well, if you're investing in players on this kind of a basis, without a cap and all this stuff, and then they keep failing, at some point, I don't care how rich you are, you're going to be like, you know what? Ask someone else.
Yeah, why am I doing this? Or you're going to say, get this coach out of here right now. Like, the fuse is going to be quicker with some of these coaches if they're not making the right decisions.
Right. So the boosters have more power in that way directly. Look, my alma mater, Michigan State, and look, the AD, Alan Haller, who got fired, I've known that guy for a long time. He was a great AD, great guy, great AD, a terrific eye for coaches. I mean, his hockey hire for Michigan State, tremendous. Women's basketball hire, all the good things that you want to see in an AD, but the money people weren't happy, and it's what happens in a lot of places is you have some billionaires, but then it's like, are you casting the net wide enough? Because why am I being asked? It's like at Vanderbilt with why is his name eluding me? Help me out. Owns the soccer team.
Oh, John Ingram.
Yes, John Ingram. God, it's like it seemed like for a while it was kind of like, well, we'll ask John if we can build this or that, and I think they've done a great job of widening the net. And that's another thing too. It's like anybody, no matter how rich they are, no matter how many billions they have, if they feel like they're just being taken advantage of at some point, they're going to have a problem with it, and they can get people fired.
Yep. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. Justin Melo will join us coming up next from the Draft Network, author of Titans of the South. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Connor Newt here with you on this Tuesday morning. Talking a little Titans, and to help us do that, we head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Justin Melo of the Draft Network, author of Titans of the South as well. Justin, good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Gentlemen, I was doing better before that clip reminded me of the insufferable Florida Panthers and what they did last night.
They are an absolute machine right now. There's no doubt about that. Just punked the Edmonton Oilers last night. We'll see how the rest of the series goes on that front. Justin, we had you on a few months ago to talk about Titans of the South and that book release that you had. Tell us about what's going on right now with the 2025 pack.
Yeah, we've got an updated version of it. So the book, features a summary of every Oiler and Titans season in franchise history, starting with the Oilers' inaugural campaign in 1960. So we've got season-by-season breakdowns, schedules, starting lineups, statistical leaders, all-decade teams, full-color photography. We've just updated it for the 2025 year. So there's a limited quantity available that will feature an updated, a new chapter featuring the 2024 season. But in truth, it wasn't a whole lot of fun, so that chapter is going to focus more on the offseason and drafting Cam Ward here at number 1 overall. That updated version is on sale now on the official book website, titansofthesouth.com. It's available for just $20, including free shipping across the entire country. And with your purchase, not only are you getting the new chapter, but you're getting a really cool free gift included, and that is a illustrated player trading card. That's the Titans illustrated player trading card, a collectible, if you will, that we've had created to give away as a free gift with every purchase. That's titansofthesouth.com, available right now.
Justin, doing this project, what's the biggest thing you learned about this franchise that you had no idea about going in?
It sounds kind of silly, but one of probably the most fun fact I learned while I put this together was, now, this didn't occur 3 drafts in a row because they traded some of their picks. But I don't know that enough Titans fans realize that this franchise, with 3 first-round draft picks, their 3 first-round draft picks in a row, drafted Earl Campbell, Mike Munchak, and Bruce Matthews.
Yeah,
that was the Oilers' run of 3 first-round draft picks. I would dare anyone to find me any 3-pick stretch in NFL history across any franchise that's better than that one.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, I've never really thought about it in those terms, but that's unbelievable stuff there. So, Justin, you bring up Cam Ward. Obviously, a ton of excitement around here about him, what he could be for this team, this franchise. As you look at the offense as a whole right now, what do you make of what Cam Ward has to work with, and what are your realistic expectations for him heading into year 1?
Well, you certainly like what they've done to build the offensive line in front of him. Yes, they probably overpaid a bit for Dan Moore Jr., but I don't blame them for throwing money at a problem that's been a recurring one in recent years, right? No more Andre Dillards, no more Dennis Baileys. You can't go through that anymore. So they throw some money at the issue. They will be better at left tackle. There's no doubt about it. You expect a step forward from Peter Skoronski entering his 3rd year. I've spoken with a lot of people around the league who expect him to take a big step this year, establish himself as one of the better guards in the league. And then you bring in a veteran, experienced right guard, like Kevin Zeitler, who's going to play next to J.C. Latham at right tackle, who they're moving over from the left side. So this offensive line is finally starting to look like a complete unit. This revamp has been going on for about 2-3 years, and I would dare to say they have potentially reached the conclusion of that. You like what they've got at running back, a 2-headed monster in Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. They need Tajay to be healthier this year, more productive, take some of the pressure off not only Pollard, but of course Cam Ward as well. He needs a 2-headed monster there in the backfield. It's TBD at wide receiver, right? That's the big question. It looks like Calvin Ridley and friends. How quickly can those rookies hit the ground running? Alec Iomanner, I think, got a great shot to come in and compete for that X receiver spot on the boundary. They had NWI and DeAndre Hopkins play that spot last year. They're, of course, no longer here. Can Alec Iomanner sort of take that? Van Jefferson's probably going to start there to begin with. How quickly can the rookie from Stanford take that spot? Does Xavier Restrepo make the roster? I lean towards yes. That chemistry with Cam Ward's going to be important. Perhaps he can play a rotational role in the slot behind Tyler Lockett. And then you've got Chimere Dike, who might be the X factor of them all. We saw him run those deep post routes last year with terrific success at Florida. Does he get into the mix? They're probably going to start him out at Z, which is where Calvin Ridley plays. So how many snaps does he earn? Again, that's TBD, going to be tough for him to get into the lineup. But they've got some game breakers at that spot, young ones. If they can ascend and grow alongside Cam Ward, there's no reason that he can't have, in relation to expectations, maybe a Caleb Williams-like rookie season. And I know, the Bears didn't have a great year. But when you look at what Caleb Williams did, he got better as the year, progressed forward, 20-plus touchdowns, 3,500-plus passing yards. That's the type of year I think Cam Ward could have in Tennessee in year one.
Okay, a couple of things you said there, Justin, piqued my interest. I have to agree. I mean, it's hard to get worse than they have been up front. But first of all, how much of an upgrade do you think Dan Moore is? And you mentioned people expecting a big step from Peter Skoronski. I'm just wondering why that is. Like, I feel like he took a step last year, and there were times when he played well, but I still have some concerns about his lateral quickness. Why is the expectation that he'll take a huge step?
Well, I'll start with the question about the protection. Number one, bringing in Dan Moore, there was a lot made about the amount of sacks he gave up last year. There were a couple things that I think are going to work big time in his favor, and I have no doubt that Mike Borgonzi identified this throughout the process, and is why they were willing to pay him what they did. First of all, I mean, the rushers in the AFC North, what he was dealing with, the Myles Garretts, the TJ Watts, not going to quite be as good as it was in the AFC South. You still got some guys, right? Your Will Andersons, your Daniel Hunters. He's going to have to play good ball, no doubt about it. But I do think removing him from the AFC North will be helpful. And then you got to look at the quarterbacks that he was protecting last year. I mean, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, historically speaking, take a lot of sacks. They hold on to the football. They are not easy quarterbacks to protect. Yes, I know Cam Ward is a rookie coming into the league, but you look at the pocket presence, you look at what he was able to do at Miami to navigate and extend the pocket and get out of those sacks and create off script. I think that's going to help Dan Moore a lot this year, put up some better numbers. Peter Skoronski, some of the people I've spoken to across the league, number one, it's year two of the Bill Callahan and Brian Callahan system. You expect them to feel a bit better in the offense. And keep in mind, last year was really the first year he had that was normal, if you will, right? The rookie season was completely or very close to completely derailed by that emergency appendectomy that he had. So this was the first year two was, that he could kind of come in, have a normal year, but he still had to learn a new offense, learn a new system with Bill Callahan up front. Not to mention the stability, I think, would be the third factor. Again, having a better left tackle next to him in Dan Moore Jr. Hopefully Lloyd Cushenberry, continues recovering nicely from that Achilles at center. But when you combine the stability, you combine year two in the offensive system, and again, being further removed from that peculiar rookie year that he had with that appendectomy, I think there are a couple reasons why you expect Peter Skoronski to take another step in year three.
Justin, as you look at the defensive side of the ball for the Titans, how concerned are you about their ability to impact the quarterback based on what's currently available to them on their roster right now?
I am fairly concerned. I think it'd be silly if you weren't. They recorded the third fewest sacks in the NFL last year. They only had 32 takedowns. There were only two teams that had fewer than them. Their sack leader was Harold Landry. They released him from a bloated contract. I get it. Was no longer as efficient as the numbers indicated he was. But you're still moving on from your sack leader. And you didn't go out and get many upgrades. You bring in a guy like Draymond Jones, who's got some inside-outside versatility, but based on the needs on your roster, you're probably going to be playing him outside, and he didn't fare that well in a similar role in Seattle last year. That's partially why the Seahawks released him from his contract earlier this offseason. You draft Femi Oladejo in the second round. How early is he going to be ready to play? We know he's still acclimating. He used to play off-ball linebacker. He made a mid-season position switch this past year to edge. In fact, if you paid attention to his process, during the pre-draft circuit, he said the Senior Bowl was when he really started feeling comfortable playing edge. That was only a couple of months ago. That's a big jump to go from I just got comfortable playing it to now I've got to play it at the NFL level. I'm incredibly high on him. He's a kid I got to know well throughout the pre-draft process, had numerous conversations with. I see why the Titans fell in love with him and love the personality, the leadership, the energy, the commitment, the willingness to get better. It's all present, but it's going to be a process for him. How quickly do they expect him to contribute? You worry that it might be a little too quick based on what they have on the roster. Again, they're relying on a guy like Arden Key, who we know is at his best when he's asked to be a rotational rusher. They don't have that luxury. They're going to ask him to play a lot of football. And the same goes for Draymond Jones, who's probably going to play outside on early downs, and I think can maybe kick inside on third down, maybe replace a guy like Tavondre Sweat, who hasn't showed a lot of pass rushing efficiency yet. I think Draymond Jones kicks in there. You put Femi Oladejo on the edge on third down. You certainly have to have questions on how much better, if at all, this unit is from a year ago.
Jeffrey Simmons is going to be a topic this week. I would expect him to be available at some point. You know, he didn't show up for the voluntary stuff. How big of a deal do you think that is, Justin? And also, what do you think is a fair expectation for that tandem inside?
Thought it was a big nothing burger. You know, if you look across the league, there are a ton of veterans that don't show up to voluntary OTAs. People always forget the word voluntary, or at least fans do on social media. He'll be at mandatory minicamp. I mean, I'd be stunned if he wasn't. This is not a contract dispute. They paid him well. I'd be fairly shocked if there was anything that materializes out of that story. Expect him to be in Nashville for mandatory minicamp. He doesn't want to get fined, right? Nobody does. And you do expose yourself to financial penalties when you're not there. So the Titans certainly expect to have perfect attendance. They don't have anybody that's really in a position with any leverage for a contract dispute. Couple guys would like to sign extensions. Your Roger McCreary's, Amani Hookers, who are on expiring deals, but they don't have enough leverage, I think, to not be there. When you look at the duo of Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat, I thought it was very good a year ago. I thought Brian Callahan gave good, concise answers on what he's looking for from Tavondre Sweat. That's a bit more pass rushing efficiency. He only had a sack or two last season, so you'd like him to impact the pocket a bit more this year. That was a theme for him coming out of Texas, right? Not a lot of sack production for the Longhorns either. When you're that big, you expect you're getting a two-down nose tackle, but when you draft him top 40, you do need to see a bit more pass rushing production than he provided throughout his rookie season. With Jeffrey Simmons, for me, it's all about staying healthy. I think we know that he could be a dominant football player. Look, he plays hard, and that's led to some injuries, especially late in seasons. When the Titans have found themselves in the midst of lost seasons in recent years outside of playoff contention, it hasn't made a whole lot of sense to have him on the field based on what he's been dealing with in recent years. They need him healthy. They need to be a competitive football team. They need 15, 16, 17 games out of him as opposed to 11, 12, 13. If that duo is healthy, and again, a Tavondre Sweat who should take a step forward, who I thought was good as a rookie, don't get me wrong. You just want to see some improved pass rushing efficiency out of him. The sky's the limit for a duo like that.
Justin Melo with us here on the program. Again, check it out, titansofthesouth.com. You can order the 2025 pack. Justin, great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning.
Pleasure was all mine. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. We'll react to what Justin had to say coming up next. Take your thoughts on the Titans. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. Tune in to ESPN 94.9 The Fan today as the Nashville Sounds take on Norfolk. Pregame beginning at 5:20. First pitch at 5:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Appreciate Justin Melo for being with us in the last segment. John, I can't find anybody who's not over the top concerned about the Titans pass rush or lack thereof right now, which is always a good feeling heading into minicamp and training camp around the corner on that front. Did seem like Justin Melo pretty upbeat and excited about the Titans offensive line there. It was interesting to hear him say that he's talked with people around the league that are expecting a pretty big jump from Peter Skoronski in year 3. What do you make of that?
Be great for the Titans, for sure. And yeah, as we've talked about, the appendectomy is something worth keeping in mind. His rookie year, I thought it was up and down last year. Not as much of a step last year as you would have hoped. Doesn't mean he can't take another step. I think expecting Peter Skoronski to be like one of the best guards in the league, that's for me, it's a little bit of a see to believe type thing.
Yeah, it's hard to get there.
I think, and also mentioned Cam Ward having a Caleb Williams type year. That'd be awfully good. I know they didn't win a lot, but Caleb Williams still, given all the challenges, and yes, they put some good people around him. He certainly had a better group of players around him. I would say quite a bit better than what Cam Ward has this year. So if he has a season like that, that's gigantic.
Yeah, I mean, you see it 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 picks last year. Now, I mean, the only thing with Caleb Williams that you'd probably like to see go up is like his yards per attempt was 6.3. So
pretty low.
You'd like to see that number go up a little bit.
They threw a lot. They lost a lot.
They did. They threw a whole lot. But like Cam Ward, if Cam Ward completed 62.5% of his passes, threw for 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 picks, I think you'd be pretty excited about that if you're a Titans fan in year 1.
And what was the Bears record? Were they 7?
They were 5-12.
They're 5-12. Yeah, it's still that's fine too. 5-12 with those numbers. And that let's take that exact scenario, because remember, Caleb Williams did lose his head coach his rookie year, and a lot of that had to do with whatever the hell Eberflus was doing on Thanksgiving when they should have beaten the Lions. And I'm like,
too much tryptophan in his body.
Am I watching this right now? Is this actually happening? And then that got him fired. Like
100%
directly got him fired.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So let's say there's no egregious in-game management stuff from Brian Callahan. Cam Ward has a season like that, roughly the same numbers, and the Titans go 5-12. Brian Callahan, your head coach in 2026 or no?
I say no.
No? Okay.
I'm not saying it's right, but I say no.
I mean, the whole point is, can you develop a quarterback? Is it not?
That's what you would think. This is a franchise that likes to fire people.
Yep. I'm gonna guess, and we may have this exact scenario. We can revisit this. I would guess that he keeps his job.
Okay.
If Cam Ward looks good. And again, because that's the difference, of course, in those situations is that Eberflus is the defensive guy. He's like former Colts D coordinator. Yep. So it already was like, do you want a non-quarterback guy?
Well, apparently Caleb Williams had a lot of concern about Eberflus and the staff heading into it.
Yeah.
As
well, yeah.
Wonder if that was ever vocalized to the front office and ownership group. Man, this guy might be an idiot.
Maybe it was well-founded too.
Maybe so.
But so you're already in the mindset of, maybe we need to go get a quarterback guy for our quarterback. Yeah. Here, you have a quarterback guy for your quarterback. That's what he is, right?
That's what he's supposed to be.
Yeah. So if he plays well, that doesn't essentially reflect well on the most important part of the why you were hired.
I'm with you. I mean, I would say, again, at the end of the day, the most important part of why you're hired is ultimately to win. So you would be talking about a 3-14 season and a 5-12 season in that scenario stacked on top of each other, which is not very good. I'm with you though. Like really, as an observer of this team this year, the only thing that I really care about is how good does Cam Ward look. That's really like about the only thing. I mean, the offensive line, And really the reason I care about the offensive line is because I want Cam Ward to look good. Like, it all comes back to Cam Ward with this team. So, if Cam Ward, if you're feeling pretty good about the progress that he's made in year one, I don't think I would move on from the coach after that. I just don't know that I trust the Titans not to do that.
Yeah. Well, they can fire Rand again because he's
so.
he's coaching a crappy team.
Yeah.
Just refire Rand. Hi, dude. It's like when players, they go back and sign a 1-day deal with their team so they can retire. You can just do that with Rand. Hire him for 1 day and fire him again, and then everybody can feel better.
I'm still looking forward to the idea that somebody threw out there last week with us that J-Rob has started his media tour now.
Yeah.
So give me a Rand and J-Rob podcast. I'd listen to that.
Rand Rob.
Yeah, Rand Rob.
Awesome. The Rand Rob pod would be awesome.
Our first guest is Amy Armstrong. Welcome to the program. How we doing?
Oh, God.
615-737-1025, our
Mike
phone number.
Vrabel.
A couple other thoughts to get to on the Titans front, plus a draft thought for the Predators, some of the latest stuff that's being floated around out there. We'll get into all that. Coming up, the Rex Rand at 7:45, and Blake Toppmeyer will be with us at 8:30 from USA Today, talking all things college sports. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up at 7:45. Blake Toppmeyer from USA Today will be with us coming up at 8:30. We'll get into all things college football with him. Joe, a couple more thoughts to get to on the Titans front, reacting to our conversation with Justin Melo. Another thing, you talked about Io Manor and the opportunity in front of him right now to step in at receiver. He called it Calvin Ridley and Friends, which I think is interesting. This is just my initial reaction when he started talking about, Van Jefferson maybe initially being the starter. And then the question is, like, how quickly as they go through camp, as they head into preseason, can Io Manor or DK or one of these rookie guys step in and take that role? I would say this, and this is no disrespect to Van Jefferson, who has carved out a somewhat nice NFL career for himself at this point. But we've gone through the numbers and what he's done over the last few years, and it's not overly impressive. If Van Jefferson is starting for this team week 1, to me, that is a very big concern. I need one of these rookies to step in and to show enough throughout the process of camp here that they're on the field more than Van Jefferson is in week 1 for the Tennessee Titans.
Totally agree. Yeah, it's Van Jefferson starting would be like, and I know that there was a lot more excitement for this guy when they first acquired him, but it's like Robert Woods getting a lot of snaps. It's like, yeah, and I know there's like the Rams connection there too, but you're well past your prime and you've had a nice career, and it's good to have a veteran in the room, and you're going to certainly be in the rotation somewhere. But if you can't beat that guy out at some point, I think just right. Like, you start out, of course, the veteran.
Yeah.
But as camp goes on, you want to see separation and like, oh, that kid's got to play. And if not, then yeah, you're really going to be pretty pedestrian at that position overall, I would say, because that's what Van Jefferson is. He's fine.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, you're talking about a guy that should be at the very bottom end of your receiving room in Van Jefferson on an NFL roster. He had 24 catches for 276 yards last year and 2 touchdowns. The 2 years before that, he played 12 games in 2023, caught 12 balls for 101 yards, and 5 games that's with the Falcons. Also played 5 with the Rams and caught 108 yards. So total in 2023, 20 catches, 209 yards. So the last 2 years, 20 catches, 24 catches, and under 300 yards in both seasons. I mean, you're talking about a 5th guy at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. That guy shouldn't start for you. He shouldn't start for an NFL team. The question is, have you done enough, with your 4th round pick to make that the case? Or there's other combinations, other guys who are going to be competing for sure. So,
Melo's got Restrepo making the team too. A lot of people have Restrepo making the team.
I'm on team Restrepo making the team. Now, I'm not on team Restrepo Rookie of the Year, which I think some Titans fans are, but I'm on team Restrepo making the team.
It's like, wow. I think Restrepo is going to have 1,000 yards out there this year. I would love to know, like, what you get odds for him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year right now. I don't think those odds currently exist.
10,000 to 1?
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know.
I'd put $1 on that.
Hey, why not? Tiger Eyes on YouTube. And by the way, again, we've been locked out of the text line. We have been excommunicated from the text line.
Help us, Chase.
So hit us up on the YouTube chat or on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, 615-737-1025. Tiger Eyes says, I'm guessing Treylon Burks won't make the 53-man roster. I am interested to see by the time training camp comes around, like, is he able, like, because he was running, there was video the Titans put out either last week or the week before at the OTAs where he was running around. So Brian Callahan was asked about him the next day, and he was like, yeah, he's not really, like, doing stuff. Like, he's not in team period right now. He's kind of doing his own thing. Like, I am very interested to see if he makes the team. Like, my initial response to that heading into camp is going to be no, he's not going to be on the roster. And I wonder if he can do anything to actually change that.
Well, look, the thing is, there is still opportunity. If you're him, there aren't many places you'd rather be to try to make this happen.
I would agree.
Than here. And he does have the talent to do that. But I'm also guessing the same thing, because I think inconsistency / injury, one or both of them will get him, as they have
his entire career to this point.
Yeah.
But
could he, like, if he had a camp, obviously, or even now here in minicamp and stuff, like 2023, well then, he'll start until, I mean, that's the reality of, I don't see it happening. It seems like that injury that he had at Minnesota has in some way kind of lingered. That's not the whole story, but I'm just saying.
Well, and if it's not that, then it feels like it becomes something else pretty quickly. Like
yes.
he's had a heck of a run on the injury front here. Now, some of that has been, remember the play in Pittsburgh where he's just like diving on the sideline and he lands on his head and
he's had some
out.
weird stuff. Yeah.
And he got, obviously got smoked in the Philly game there where that seemed to really change things for him, where he took the shot in the end zone. But with him, he's one of those guys where, and this is just me, if you're Brian Callahan, I don't know that you can view it this way, but I don't really care what he does in camp, because my first question is going to be, well, that's great. He can be good in camp. Is he going to do anything in the game when he steps on the field in an actual NFL game setting? And can he get through a game without getting hurt, which is a legitimate question at this point. It doesn't happen very often with Treylon Burks.
Right.
Like, it always
we're
feels
just
like
talking about
something's
making.
happening.
We're just talking about making the.
We
team,
are,
though,
we are,
so.
but like I think that's got to factor into it, right? Like, if you're Callahan, how much stock do you put into what he does at camp when you're making these decisions, knowing in the background that to this point in his career, when it has mattered in the games, he's done virtually nothing and he gets hurt all the time.
Yeah, it's important information. But also, like, if you're going out there day after day and he's just outperforming someone else who might be on the team, how do you not give him the spot?
Sure.
Right?
I mean, yeah, I get it. It's just based on his history, it's hard for me to really care about what he does at camp.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, it's going to have to be spectacular, I think, because of what you just said there and what we've been talking about, because that stuff has to be a factor in the decision. You have to be skeptical. So, but then what if it is spectacular, Yeah. And some of these other guys are very underwhelming. It's like, do you believe your own eyes or not?
Yeah. It's a fascinating question on that front. So apparently I said, he's not really like doing stuff. And Jacob on the YouTube chat says, he's not really like doing stuff is a perfect quote to encapsulate Burks' tenure with the Titans so far. Really brilliant analysis from me on that front. He's not, like doing stuff out there.
I mean, it's accurate, man.
Great stuff from me there. Scott Wheeler from The Athletic, Joe, has come out with the 2025 NHL Mock Draft 2.0. So we are getting ever closer to the NHL draft coming up, in which the Predators hold the number 5 overall pick. The first one was done by Corey Pronman, and he had the Predators taking James Higgins at number 5, which we talked about on the show and heard from a lot of Predators fans that were like, yeah, sign up for that right now. I looked at Wheeler's yesterday, and it's interesting. Like, it feels like the top 2 really aren't changing all that much, and Schaefer and Misa. He also has Frondell going number 3 to Chicago, which Pronman did as well. He's got the Predators selecting Porter Martone at number 5, who is a very good player. He is also a winger, listed at 6'3", 204 pounds, and got James Higgins sliding all the way to number 6 to the Philadelphia Flyers, which raised a lot of eyebrows yesterday, Joe, as this was getting thrown around there. Higgins was a part of the group that met McDavid before the game yesterday in the Cup final, and met Gretzky and all those guys, and going on the media tour. And like, you read the write-up here that Wheeler put together of the Predator selection of Martone, where he says, quote, "I'd bet the Preds strongly consider Higgins here, and Desnoyers if he's still around, or Desnoyer if he's still around. But they do have a decent center depth in their pool. I've heard they scouted Martone a lot this year. They've been starving for a high-end skill forward prospect for what feels like decades," which I think everybody around here would agree with. "And Martone gives them the right shot winger, size, strength, and high-end skill." I like Martone a lot. I think he has got a chance to be a pretty good player. Here's the way I'm operating with it, and I don't know if you're Barry Trotz, if you can do this or not. To me, if you're going to take a winger over a center in a draft like this, given the number 5 overall pick, you better think that winger is way better than the center.
Yes.
I mean, there needs to be a big gap in your evaluation between what Martone and Higgins could be if you're going to justify that pick, to me. I don't think it's quite as simple as, we think Martone might be a little bit better than Higgins, so we're going with Martone. To me, with the importance of that position, and specifically with the importance of that position for this franchise, there better be a gap if you're going winger over centerman. That's my thought.
Yeah, I would agree. But you could certainly use a big time winger, and we've talked about Hagen's size and there's some concerns there and things like that. So, but I would agree, just the position of center is an immediate escalator in terms of comparing value of two guys.
Yeah, I think so. Hagen's to me, it kind of feels like he's fallen a little bit just based on some of the commentary around him. And I mean, I guess the size really is the only thing that concerns me about him. He's 5'10", and he's listed at 186 pounds. So it's not like he's like some string bean out there at 155 pounds or anything. You got to keep in mind he's also 18, so he's going to continue to grow as they move forward here. I just think he's got a lot of skill to him. And I think if you're the Predators looking at that spot, is he a perfect prospect? No. But if he's there at 5, I think I'd have a hard time passing on that if I'm the Preds. That's just me.
Yeah, reading Pronman also is tiering these guys. He has Martone as his number 3 overall player.
Yes.
With the player comp of Philip Forsberg.
Yes.
For Porter Martone, which is interesting. You're talking about 6'3", 210 right now at his age. That's playing a heavy game and all that stuff. I mean, that's appealing. That is definitely appealing. He actually has Hagen's as a 3rd-tier guy. He tiers it that way with a 1 tier only of Schaefer, which I think a lot of people would agree. Then Misa Martone as his 2nd tier. Oh, and Denoyer. And then Hagen's the top of the 3rd tier, which is interesting. I don't know if tiering matters that much. Whatever, it's a top 5, but it's an interesting way to put it.
It is.
He also says he's got the comp of Hagen's as Nylander. So,
I mean, you take that.
Sure, you'd like to have that on your team.
Yeah,
you have to make a good choice here, and whoever you choose, you need that comp to come through. You need that player to be the number 1 prospect in your organization and to be on a fast track and to be a difference maker soon.
And then, of course, there are still people that would tier it. I saw this yesterday from some other people talking about the draft. So there are some people that tier it Schaefer, Misa, kind of right there together. And then if he's healthy, McQueen would be their 3rd guy. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the Predators view that part of it. But we're getting closer. The NHL draft is coming up here in a few weeks, and we'll see what the Predators do at the number 5 overall pick. But the NHL Combine just got wrapped up, so a lot of discussion on those guys right now and where they're slotted as we start to head into draft talk here in the next couple of weeks here. So we'll keep you up to date on the latest on those developments as they happen. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. We'll have Blake Toppmeyer from USA Today at 8:30. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
So, Joe,
already talked
defend
about
the NBA. Go.
Hey, Jared, shut up. Thanks. We've already talked about it. Go back and
well,
listen.
the people in the car right
jackass.
now weren't.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. Check it out every morning here on the program. Joseph, the floor is yours.
Thanks for bringing that up. And thanks for don't play this song, dude. When you hear a song,
Don't like your alma mater?
oh, well, yeah, I like my alma mater, but like I covered their sports teams for ever. And like when you're like even just at one basketball game and then like you're right in front of the band. I mean, there's no song, there's no fight song that doesn't get old. I'm
Look,
reading
they
Paul
can't-
Feinbaum's book and he's like, Rocky Top is the most annoying song on earth. He's a Tennessee grad. I'm like, wow.
Can't always say smart things, I guess. We all love Feinbaum, but that's pretty dumb.
So you don't ever get sick of Rocky Top?
No,
Okay. I don't know, man.
probably not played enough.
I don't think there's a song, a fight song that you can't get sick of.
Oh, Rocky Top, I think is probably that.
But it's
one.
actually technically not their fight song.
It's really
by the
not.
way,
Yes,
by the way.
it's not.
All right, so I am going to talk about music, by the way, on this. And thank you for bringing up the Jared thing. You know, I mentioned this yesterday. Let me just quickly say, Jared lied again. Like, why does he have to lie?
I don't know.
He obviously, like, everybody sees him lying and hears him lying. Everybody who listens to this show knows that, like, my favorite product is the NBA of the late 80s. So everybody knows that I didn't say what he said I said, yet he still says it. He still says that I said that. It's amazing.
It's just what he does.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
it's something else. But I've got to talk about music today, Robbie. As you know, I'm a concert guy, especially now. It's probably a midlife crisis to always go to every show, but that's okay because when you're young and you don't have any money and you miss all these shows. And I never saw Kurt Cobain, and I could go on and on.
Confirmed. Rexrode's rich.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I mean, we got to renegotiate these $1.5 million a year deals, but I don't want to take that to the public forum.
That's good.
So I'm pretty good with I got like the apps of the third party, ticket things and all that. I'm pretty good. I generally wait until day of a show. The only time that got screwed up for me was when Katie and I went to, it was like her birthday present last year. Went to Vegas to see U2 at Sphere. And I was like, yeah, we'll wait to the day of. And then to the day of, it was like, oh, they're going up. It's supply and demand. People go out. So I screwed that up. We got in, but I screwed it up. For the most part, this is Taylor Swift or something where for the most part, you wait and it's going to go down. And so that's why I tell people, Katie and I have our Dave Matthews Band stuff all mapped out this summer. I don't have any tickets. I have hotel rooms. I don't have any tickets. I'm buying the day of, and sometimes like right before the show, you get like an awesome seat for cheap.
God,
That's
that would
what
make me
I do.
incredibly nervous.
No, I love it. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, if you see the prices are right around face, well after they sell, it's going to go down. So I need help from the general public. I'm pretty good at this stuff. I got Brennan a nice little baby concert ticket the other day. By the way, he said it was an amazing show.
Oh, good to know.
And he was like, he's like, Lil Baby, he played a couple of new songs, but mostly he played his old songs everybody loves. I'm like, I didn't know Lil Baby had old songs everybody loves.
I
But
didn't either.
congratulations on the concert, Brennan. I hope you enjoyed Lil Baby.
Yes.
Someone tell me what the hell is going on with Coldplay. I like Coldplay. Katie and I have seen Coldplay. We saw them at Pine Knob in Michigan, which is like their amphitheater. It's called like DT Energy, whatever. It's Pine Knob.
Sure.
Fine. It was a good show. It was probably, 15 years ago. It was fine. I like Coldplay. Coldplay's coming to Nissan Stadium. I just saw Metallica there. Seen Red Hot Chili Peppers there. Some pretty good bands that this thing worked pretty well. I'm looking at SeatGeek for Coldplay at Nissan Stadium. Tuesday, July 22nd. The cheapest ticket is $460 freaking dollars.
Really?
For Coldplay at Nissan Stadium? Have you ever seen the movie Revenge of the Nerds?
Yes.
Well, then you remember the point where the nerds were selling pies that were basically just whipped cream it was just whipped cream. So I'm not gonna,
is that what you're comparing Coldplay?
well, it's
to?
like, is Coldplay giving out drugs also while you go to the show?
I don't think so.
Again, I like Coldplay.
Man.
This makes no sense at all. My daughter told me about this because she wanted to go see Coldplay. I'm like, yeah, we can do that. And I'm like, dude, 300 level for 503. Here we go, 503. It's insane. And then you get the good seats, and it's like $800-900 for Coldplay at Nissan Stadium. I like them. I'm not ripping them. I'm not comparing them to Creed or some crappy band.
Easy.
Someone help me with how Coldplay is like the hottest ticket in all of music in 2025 at Nissan Stadium.
I mean, this is not just a Nashville thing. I'm looking. So they're in Toronto in early July, and the cheapest one, it starts at $400. They're in Foxborough. And Vrabel will probably be there July 15th. $240. Cheapest one in the door. Now they do have they're coming up I guess on Friday in El Paso. $164. $146 today in my house. So this trend would suggest maybe wait a little bit and they'll come back down because you can buy Coldplay tickets today at Mile High Stadium in Denver for $146.
Okay. But still,
I mean, I was going to say, like, I'd like to get into a Coldplay concert for like $55. That'd be nice.
like at a stadium? Again, we saw them at an amphitheater that seats 15 years ago that seats about, probably 8,000-9,000 people. This is a stadium tour. Like, What is happening at this tour? What are they doing at this tour?
I don't get it. I mean, I'm with you. I like Coldplay. I don't know that I would go out of my way to go see Coldplay. But I'm looking. I mean, you're right. The prices are pretty unbelievable on this thing right now.
Like now, I actually want to go more because I'm like, what the hell
What
is
are they
so
gonna do?
special about this concert? Yeah,
And it's working. They got you.
Maybe so.
Well, but I'm not paying this money. I mean, my God,
That's pocket change for you, Rexrode.
Well, that's true.
A man of your status.
Well,
Come on.
if we can negotiate up to more than $2 million a year on the show, then we'll consider it. But I don't remember when our negotiations are. We had talked to Chase. We're meeting with Chase today. We can talk about $2 million a year. But no, I'm not like I want to go, and I will wait until the last day. But that doesn't bode well for getting in for I'd probably go for about 70.
You think the prices would go up or down if Creed joined them? I think they'd go up.
Creed play?
Yeah.
The Creed play show?
Maybe Coldplay open for Creed.
If they brought Scott, maybe that's what it is. They bring out Scott Stapp comes out and mops the stage at the intermission, which is about what I would trust him to do.
So disrespectful of Scott Stapp. It's unbelievable.
I don't even want to be. You make me do it.
I didn't make you do anything. I was just trying to envision what a cool concert that could be with Coldplay and Creed together.
Yeah, boy, it'd be really special.
Well, I hope you enjoy paying $700 to go watch Coldplay play at Nissan Stadium.
I mean, we're locked out of the text line, which we need to negotiate that in our new contract too. I'm waiting for someone to help me out here. Like, does anybody know? I'm seriously asking the question of what is so special about this show.
I don't get it. But the trend would suggest just hang in, be strong.
Yeah.
Prices will come down.
I hope so.
I mean, I wonder if, they're playing in Denver tonight. I wonder if Sean Payton going to end up there.
I could see him.
It seems like he may be a Coldplay guy.
I could see Sean Payton. Not sure I can see Vrabel.
I don't know.
Vrabel likes bad country and likes to sing bad country. Big Florida Georgia line guy.
FGL guy?
Big FGL dude.
615-737-1025. Our phone number. Got some news and notes to get to on the NFL front coming next. Plus, a question that Rexrode has thrown out there that I think is very interesting in the world of college sports. We'll get into all that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon, big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode and Connor Newt here with you on this Tuesday morning. Blake Toppmeyer from USA Today will join us later this hour, coming up at 8:30. I got some tickets to give away. A pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari in Santa Claus, Indiana, the water coaster capital of the world, just a short road trip away. Get tickets at holidayworld.com. Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025. Call the 3 will win a pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari in Santa Claus, Indiana, hometown of one Jay Cutler. Rexrode's got a question for Tennessee and Vanderbilt fans that we're going to get into here in just a few minutes. Joe, I do want to get to a couple NFL headlines involving some edge rushers in the AFC North. Trey Hendrickson, who, as we know, is in a contract dispute with the Cincinnati Bengals, is not expected to show up to mandatory minicamp. So looks like that situation will continue, and it doesn't look like Hendrickson will show up to mandatory minicamp. Elsewhere in the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers have landed Aaron Rodgers. He's got his press conference later today. Well, apparently TJ Watt not going to be there. TJ Watt also not expected to attend Steelers minicamp. So a couple of AFC North pass rushers in some disagreements with their team about their future and what contracts could look like. And Watt not expected to attend Steelers minicamp. Diana Rossini putting that out there. And then Hendrickson not at Cincinnati's minicamp.
Is team leader Aaron Rodgers going to reach out to TJ Watt? Is he going to, speak on behalf of the organization and
could
say,
be?
Hey, we need accountability in this place.
He probably will get up on the stage today and say, it's a real shame that we've got some of our players just not here, not putting in the work in the offseason.
Guess you know who you can trust around here. The Hendrickson thing, it just continues. He's not backing down.
No,
they're not backing down. In one of these situations, you do the math and it's like, yeah, we can take some fines for a while. We'll end up getting the deal or close to the deal that we want. We can take some fines for a little while, but
I don't think he's going
to
take
him forever.
I'm with Charles. I don't think Trey Hendrickson is getting the deal he's looking for in Cincinnati. Like I think Cincinnati is kind of drawing the line in the sand, and we've talked about this. He's on the other side of 30. It's not great timing for him just in terms of when he's becoming a free agent here with this contract. And I get it. If you're him, you're looking at Myles Garrett getting paid $40 million a year, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I am the leading sacker in the NFL over the last couple of years. Now, I would not put Trey Hendrickson in the same category as Myles Garrett.
No.
Nor do I think most people would.
No.
But if you're him, I think you could easily argue and justify. You could pay me $32, $33, $34 million a year. Like that, he could go get that somewhere else. It doesn't sound like Cincinnati has any interest in that whatsoever.
And the timing, you're right in terms of his age, but the timing is also how many more years of Joe Burrow you want to waste? Because he just had an absurd season statistically, and your defense was so bad even with this guy. Take this guy off that defense. How bad is it? That's the argument, right? Like the timing is, are you in a window right now or not?
Yeah.
Because you fired your guy who we all thought was a genius 2 years ago, defensive coordinator. I think that probably speaks to his personnel. And Trey is one of your very few even good players on that side of the ball. So, but the Bengals, when they draw a line in the sand on not paying someone, Bengals, that's their thing.
It is their thing. So we'll see what happens with Trey Hendrickson and I said TJ Watt, but apparently neither one of those guys showing up to minicamp in the AFC North. So we'll see how those situations continue to evolve. Joe, we've talked a lot about the House settlement and the $20.5 million that the schools now have directly to pay to the players. And you've got an interesting question related to Tennessee and Vanderbilt fans that you'd like to throw out there. What is your question for Vols and Doors fans today?
Well, on the topic of baseball, real quick, by the way, Murray State is an awesome story getting in the College World Series. So Duke and Carolina thought it was going to be like Duke, Carolina, and MoMA. They both blow it at home in supers. And so so the SEC still ends up with the most teams, which is crazy. The two, nobody else has more than one. I will say real quick, basketball, baseball aren't the same thing, but we are still in the era of, oh my gosh, parity is going to go away, NIL, et cetera, et cetera. you can't look at Omaha this year and say that parity has been blown away in that sport, right?
Yep.
So for those of you who think that we're never going to have another Cinderella in basketball again, I think let's just see it play out. But my question is, if you're Tennessee fan and a Vanderbilt fan or a Vanderbilt fan, I guess a Tennessee or a Vanderbilt fan, are there some ands?
Actually, I think there are.
There are some.
Yeah, I've met some people who root for both.
Yeah,
which is a fascinating.
I know people. I mean, I grew up rooting for Michigan and Michigan State, so I mean and I wasn't the only person in the world. I know that's crazy, but the question is, if we assume, and I think we would rightfully assume, that these football programs are going to get what they need. They're going to get what they need. They have to. They drive the revenue when it comes down to it. If you assume that, the program is going to suffer. So, right now with Vanderbilt, you've got, I think really promising. You got possible National Player of the Year with your women's basketball program. You also lost a really good player to Notre Dame, but you have some real promise there to be special, I think, with Shea Ralph moving forward. You had a really good first year from Mark Byington men's basketball. You know what Tim Corbin, and that's your thing.
Yeah.
However, I could still make the case that some Vanderbilt fans miserably miss Memorial Magic and have had a taste of it here. They got wins over Tennessee the last 2 years in that building. So if you have to make a choice, and we'll say the same thing for Tennessee fans, Vitello's got your program going. It's hard to imagine he's going to lose out. But, I mean, if Rick Barnes needs somebody, are you going to say no to Rick? So there's going to be tough choices. Football is going to win. Football is going to win in the SEC.
Yeah.
Every single place. So what program, if somebody else has to win, what program are you picking? Because, they're not all going to get everything they want out of this $20.5 million.
It's a good question. Because I think a lot of Tennessee fans, a lot of Vanderbilt fans would say, and maybe Vanderbilt is a little bit different than Tennessee, just based on kind of the history of the program. But I think a lot of people in general would say, yeah, make sure football's taken care of. And as long as football's taken care of, we'll worry about everything else later. That's kind of where I fall on the Tennessee front. But when you assume that that's taken care of, trying to make the choice between basketball and baseball, I think for both schools is really interesting. I mean, honestly, for me, this is just my personal preference. I'd probably rather see the baseball team win. That's just me. I think a lot of people disagree with that. I think you're right. I think the majority of people would pick basketball in this situation.
I mean, maybe, but
on the Tennessee front, at least. Now, Vanderbilt, I don't know. That one's interesting.
I mean, Vanderbilt baseball is, it's the one nationally powerful, you are among the best, and you have been for
long time,
almost 20 years now with Tim Corbin, among the best in that sport. How are you going to forfeit that? Especially right now with Tennessee and what they're doing, you want to you want to back off from that? It's hard for me to buy, but yes, Memorial Magic is a real thing too, and it's been badly missed, and it's sad, what's happened with both those programs. And look, if I'm a Vanderbilt fan right now, I'm telling you right now, the prospect of losing Michaela Blakes to another, because you're talking about if you do enough around her in the next couple of years, you could compete for a national championship. Vanderbilt women's basketball has been to the Final Four one time, I believe. Yes, one Final Four. But they had a great program for a long time. Jim Foster, obviously, they have a great history, but you can have a chance to actually win a championship in that sport, which is the most, fast rising sport in this country is women's basketball. So, I mean, you're going to lose Michaela Blakes, for example. I mean, I'm not saying that's the situation, but I'm saying there's an example of, to me, it's this money has to, you cannot lose a potential national player of the year, right?
It's really
also baseball is baseball.
And as we know, people have already started NIL is going to factor into it to some degree too. But the allocation of the $20.5 million, Jared on the YouTube chat says Vandy needs to spend 20 of the $20.5 million on the baseball team. He says we're never going to win a national championship in football. Put the money into your best product. That's what Jared says.
Outspend the Royals immediately.
It's like, we need almost all of the money dedicated to baseball.
See, he also says, and I didn't even entertain this. I think this is crazy, but he says we're never going to win a natty in football. Pump the money into your best product. But again, Jared, but football still also drives the revenue.
Right.
And by the way, let's not forget that we've talked about different conferences coming together, this and that, and some of the weaklings getting pushed out. I would not mess around with not doing everything you can to be competitive in football. You don't want an 8-4 football team. You don't want a team that can win on a given Saturday against SEC competition. You're right. I don't see a natty anytime soon, but you don't want winning football that goes to bowl games and gives you a game like the win over Alabama last year. You don't think that's worth pumping money into?
Yeah, I would. I mean, football, as you said, and that's really the most important part of it. It drives the money, right? So you have to reallocate some of that money into football when it's driving that level of money.
Like, yes, you're going to still get your SEC checks for now
if
you abandon football, but that's not the way to go.
A very interesting question that Rexrode has thrown out there. Tennessee fans, Vanderbilt fans. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams and programs and schools allocate this money moving forward. What would you rather see them spend it on? Football is a given in this conversation. So would you rather see baseball, men's, women's basketball? Where would you like to see the money go for Tennessee and Vanderbilt? We'll get your thoughts on that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Blake Toppmeyer from USA Today will be with us here at 8:30. We'll get into the college football, college sports discussion with him. Rexrode's thrown the question out there for Tennessee and Vanderbilt fans. We know that the money that has just been kind of negotiated here in the House settlement, a lot of it's going to get invested in football. We know that in the SEC. What about baseball? What about basketball? Where would you like to see the majority of the rest of that money go? If you're a Tennessee fan, if you're a baseball fan. Joe, how would you answer this question if you're a Tennessee fan? Let's start with the Vols. Where would you like to see it go? Rick Barnes, who has been very consistent, and they're always in the mix, and they have not yet broken down the door to get to the Final Four, but they've been one of the best programs in the SEC over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And then you've got Tony Vitello, obviously, who just won a national championship last year. They've been in the Super Regionals 5 years in a row. If you're a Tennessee fan, how do you answer this question?
Well, I mean, I guess when you say how would I answer it, if I were a Tennessee fan, I'd go with my biases, which is toward basketball, as much as I love baseball and college baseball. So,
and frankly, that's what this question really comes down to, I think, is like, what do you personally
what do you
prefer?
value? What do you value? I mean, look, again, just like with Vanderbilt, and I talk about Michaela Blakes, there's also, I mean, women's basketball is not, it's not nothing. Like there's, and you know, I mean, Tennessee made kind of a risky hire, which early on looks pretty good. You've got one of the two proudest programs in the sport of women's basketball. Do you not want to finally get back to Final Fours and being that level of relevance? Easy for me to say.
Yep.
I'd go that way. And, you know, the Vanderbilt, because look, I mean, it's been a great run. Obviously, Tennessee just built out the stadium. And I'm not saying like the choice isn't, and then the other program gets nothing.
Fold the baseball program. Yeah.
You know, I think you also ask the question with these programs a little bit of like Nick Saban. You know, Nick Saban says, I mean, why did guys come to our program? Because they go to the NFL. We sent guys to the NFL, so we develop players. So, I mean, look, there's certainly some truth to that, right? So, to me, if I'm Tim Corbin and now Tony Vitello too, you can certainly sell. We send like we have the best prospects, and we are going to get you prepared for a professional career. You know, if you don't go right out of high school, like when you do go, you're going to be ready. Look at our success rate. I think both of those baseball programs can sell that certainly more than these basketball. Not that there's been some success stories out of basketball too, but it's not like, and I know Rick Barnes is definitely a big player developer guy. Grant Williams is a great example of not a big recruit who turns into an NBA guy, but I think the baseball programs can sell that. And maybe you can get away with being a little bit, not getting into every single bidding war with LSU and Arkansas, you know, and whoever else, and maybe still get teams that are good enough to win it all.
The interesting part here is going to be, is there going to be more NIL money that you can allocate to the baseball team or to the basketball team,
right?
Because you're spending more of your own money on football.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's going to be really, or is the football pot just going to grow where it's, yeah, we're spending all this money from NIL on the football players. Plus on top of that, now you've got all this other money that we're spending on football too. Is it just going to be football where we just see exponential growth on how much these players are getting paid?
I think yes on the last thing, but I also still think, you know, certain boosters may have their own preferences too. And yeah, we're talking $20.5 million. That doesn't mean that that's the only money, right? There's going to be outside NIL money, and then the CSC will look at the NIL and see how it goes, and then we can all LOL about the whole thing.
Nice.
Clayton Hunt, thank you, says on the YouTube chat, which is all we have today, by the way, folks, says, how much has Tennessee and Vanderbilt spent across the board? Anywhere close to Texas, $35 to $40 million budget. So the Texas thing, remember last year, Ohio State, much was made about, was it 20 or 25 million? $20 million roster for Ohio State, which, by the way, most of that money was retaining guys. Most of that money was not new guys they brought in. It was retaining guys. But they did bring in Will Howard, and somehow that worked, and they won it all.
Judkins, yep.
Yeah, Judkins is a huge pickup for sure. So the Texas thing is now that number 35-40 is a consideration of what you're getting out of the revenue share, out of the 20.5, and then also what you're getting extra. So again, it's just the money's just going up.
Yep.
So,
and by the way, Sarkisian, head coach of Texas, has vehemently denied the $35 to $40 million number.
Yeah,
but we're talking about that's for his roster, just football.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't. Yeah, and that's the problem too, right? I mean, some of these numbers. I mean, it's like BYU is out here claiming like they had this huge like media blitz to try to claim that they're not just outbidding people, while everyone in all of college sports says, yeah, BYU is paying more than anybody, and that's why they have like the number one recruit coming in hoops and et cetera, et cetera. I'm talking BYU basketball.
Yeah.
Like that program is spending like crazy, and then they're like, no, we're just. People just want to come to BYU and be developed. Okay. So to answer your question, Clayton, yeah, like I think Tennessee, whatever Texas is doing, Tennessee has got to be right in that neighborhood. Now Vanderbilt, not as much, but Vanderbilt's, I mean, they're competitive. They have been able to get money for NIL, and they've been able to win some big battles in the portal and in high school recruiting because of it. But yeah, I think Tennessee, if it is 35 to 40 million, whatever it is going to be in that neighborhood. Has to be.
Well, and then that gets back into what we talked about in the first hour of, all right, well, that's your $20.5 million that you're getting out of this settlement. That helps with that. But then there's still a lot of booster NIL involvement that has to be taken into place after that. And how sustainable is it? That's, I think, a big question for college football, college sports moving forward is how sustainable is the NIL part of it? Like, what's that going to look like in 10 years?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's just, then you get into, it's like the haves and have-nots. That's always a concern. Is the gap good and widen? But again, the haves become just like, again, Texas Tech is apparently spending more money than anybody
apparently
on football, because they got one guy in particular who's like, yep, it's just, but remember, Oklahoma State at one point did the same thing when they still had T. Boone Pickens around. Didn't do much for him, but my God, they built Taj Mahal in Stillwater, Oklahoma because of it.
Hey, Stillwater's a fine town.
I
haven't either. Heard it's a fine town.
Matt says for UT, I would go football, basketball, then a tie between baseball and women's basketball. There are too many women basketball banners for them to not get their share. Yeah, again, they're all gonna be competitive.
Yeah.
But if you come down to, man, that $2 million,
right?
Is it coming over here? Is it going there? Like in Auburn, like I said, Ed brought up yesterday too. North Carolina is fascinating. A blue blood in basketball, and you got Belichick in here. Like, yeah, well, this is an NFL program, so I need to play NFL salaries. I mean, that's fascinating. Maybe Jordan Hudson will break the tie.
Jordan Hudson hand delivering the money to the football player. Here you go. Got money for you here.
Yeah, maybe
that's the difference there. I don't know. Interesting stuff on that front. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Blake Toppmeyer from USA Today will join us coming up next. We'll get into the college football discussion with him and get his reaction to the House settlement and how that could affect things moving forward. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Connor Newt here with you on this Tuesday morning. Talking a little college football, college sports, and to help us do that, we head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Blake Toppmeyer from the USA Today Network. Blake, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Doing well, you guys?
Doing awesome, man. Appreciate
Super.
you taking time to be with us. So, Blake, we've known the House settlement has been coming for a while now, and now it is here. So what do you make of the settlement, the creation of the College Sports Commission, and the task in front of that commission to now try to go out there and enforce these NIL deals?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult task. We heard from the conference commissioners yesterday, and Greg Sankey from the SEC said that his membership has said uniformly that they want regulations, they want oversight, they don't like the wild, wild west. Well, that's all well and good until it's your team, your program in the crosshairs facing the discipline. So we'll see, right? I mean, the first time this College Sports Commission tries to investigate anybody for an NIL deal that's not on the up and up. What do you think? What do you think the school, the program is going to do? Do you think they're going to lay down and say, "Yep, we did it. We screwed up. Hand us down the penalty"? No, they're going to fight back, which is what college sports has done for years now, right? That's my belief anyway. But the commissioners say no. This is what the coaches want. This is what the ADs want. The presidents want. They want to be policed. Yeah, right. I think the task is going to be very tough. I think the task by this Deloitte group that is evaluating NIL deals to determine whether they serve, quote, a legitimate business purpose and whether they're of fair market value. I think that's going to be an incredibly difficult task by this NIL clearinghouse as well. And wouldn't surprise me if we see some more lawsuits the first time this Deloitte group says, hey, that NIL deal is not for a legitimate business purpose, or that NIL deal compensates that athlete too much. In a capitalistic society, I think that's a little bit tough to regulate. And in so much as they try, would not surprise me when the folks who make their living on billable hours step to the forefront and say, we'll see you in court.
So obviously, Blake, the NCAA, the folks in college athletics, they've darn near been begging Congress to help, right? I mean, the judges don't like them. They're hoping somehow they can get some blanket protections. There's been constant talk about this. I know that there's something, again, there's a Republican-led committee right now, with a bill that would do some of these things. Do you feel like that's feasible? How impactful could that be? Where are you on finally a life raft being provided by Congress?
Yeah, I would defer the highest level of expertise to our reporters that cover the Hill. But my thought on it is, like, they've been asking for a federal bailout for 4 years now. None has come forward. We know, just generally speaking, the very narrow advantage for the Republicans in both the House and the Senate, which makes it hard to get something like this done without bipartisan support. And so then to get bipartisan support, I think you need to draw up a bill that not favors, but that has some appeal to your friends in the other party. And I think that's a sticking point, right? A lot of the things that I think the Republicans would codify don't appeal to the left, and a lot of the things that I think the Democrats would codify around these issues don't appeal to the right. So can they get something that would engineer bipartisan support? I don't know. Maybe. They haven't in 4 years. It's, like I said, it's still a very, very slim advantage for one party in D.C. I think it would have a better chance of getting done if you had a more significant tipping of the scales toward one party or another in the chambers of Congress. But that's not the landscape right now. Maybe that changes in 2026 when we have midterm elections. I don't know. We heard Commissioner Brett Yormark from the Big 12 yesterday say, like, well, he feels like they're closer now to getting legislation in Congress than they were before. I mean, that might technically be true. I think the settlement providing some sort of framework that Congress can maybe work off of probably does inch you a little closer to the possibility of getting some federal legislation. Is it likely? I don't know. I keep thinking like the idea of getting bipartisan support around something, because that's what this would require. To me, still feels like a little bit of a long shot. Not a Hail Mary, but I guess more likely than not that it would be difficult, I think, to get something across the finish line from Congress.
So, Blake, donor fatigue with NIL. How much of a problem do you think it's been? How much of a concern do you think it has been moving forward? And how much, if at all, does this alleviate some of that with the House settlement?
I think donors will tell you they are fatigued. I think their bank accounts would tell you that their actions do not match their words. I mean, what you constantly run into is a donor saying, I really hate this system. I don't like it. This isn't the system that should be in place. Congress needs to step in. And they say all this while they have a check in their hand that they're walking over to the collective to hand off to go buy the next player. And so, yeah, I think donors would say they're fatigued. I don't know that we've seen that in practice. And in fact, I think we've seen the opposite of that in practice, right? And how much does this change that? Is a cop-out answer, but I think time will tell. I mean, my instinct is the way for teams to continue to separate themselves in the post-House settlement era is through NIL, right? I mean, we know the rev share element is going to be capped at the same cap for every team. You know, the figure is roughly around 20.5 million. Might be a couple ticks above that, but that's the general figure people are operating off right now. So that means it's a $20.5 million cap for Texas, same as it is for Tennessee, same as it is for Arizona State, right? And you're divvying that up across your sports. The general working figures are, this isn't required, but the schools you've heard talk about this say they're going to share about 75% of that 20.5 million with their football program. So let's just call that 15 million, right? Well, if everybody's sharing 15 million with their football program, no one's going to have a big advantage. And when I say everyone, I mean your Power 4 schools, right? So how do you create an advantage? It's through NIL still. And so I don't think this shuts down in the NIL operation. I mean, NIL, I think, is going to move more in-house within the athletic department's control rather than being run by third-party collectives. So I think it's a shifting from out-of-house to in-house. There is supposed to be more oversight now with this Deloitte group that I was talking about earlier, this NIL clearinghouse run by Deloitte that's supposed to evaluate, whether NIL deals are for a quote-unquote legitimate business purpose. Or if it's pay to play. Again, I think that's going to be an incredibly difficult task for this clearinghouse to do. And my suspicion is that NIL is still going to remain a big part of college sports because that is going to be the way you separate yourselves. If everybody's sharing roughly the same amount in revenue share, I don't think that certain programs are out there, a lot of programs out there are just going to say, well, that's it. We're all sharing the same now. It's equal for everybody. No. It's in college sports, for as long as any of us can remember, everybody's been trying to get an advantage in any way they can. And the way you can gain an advantage here, I think, is still by having the strongest NIL program to supplement that revenue share cap. It's just the difference is a lot of those NIL efforts, like I said, they used to be third-party deals before, run by groups outside the athletic department. Now they're going to be moving more under the athletic department umbrella.
Even though, of course, as you know, Blake, even with the collectives, coaches would still be like, yeah, we're paying this guy this much. We're paying this guy that much. It's like, oh, I thought it was the collective that was it was drawing up the salaries here. But yeah, I mean, at least
third party.
Maybe we can FOIA this now. Can we FOIA this stuff now? That's my big concern. Like, can we get some salary sheets out of this now? I hope so.
No, I think a lot of that information sadly will be shielded.
Yeah, it sucks. So to your point, Blake, like, and I wonder if you've had the same. I've talked to some people who I respect in college sports who actually have been impressed by the way this has all been explained, the CSC, the Deloitte aspect of it, and I actually think that because everyone's so worried about just the overall escalating costs, I actually think people are going to play ball. I'm with you. The first time that you are popped for something and you might lose one of your best players for 2 games or whatever it is, you're going to react the same way, right? But have you had that? Has anybody talked you into or tried to talk you into or convince you in any way that maybe this is different?
I think the most common refrain that I hear is, this isn't perfect, but it's better than what existed before, which was really nothing from the uniformity level, and everybody was just operating off their own state laws. Now we still have state laws, but there is something uniform that everybody says they're going to go along with. And so I think that is what I hear the most is a general acceptance that this is not perfect, that it is not going to solve all these issues that we're talking about, but it is a starting point, something that you can point to and say, we have this settlement, we can try to enforce it. Before, there really wasn't anything you could try to enforce, again, at least from the uniform level, from team to team, from state to state. There was nothing to really try to enforce, particularly after the state of Tennessee sued the NCAA and blew the doors open, and it became true pay to play. There was, after the NICO lawsuit, let's call it, where the NCAA started sniffing around the NICO deal, the Attorney General and Tennessee took them to court and won a decision there. Then that was like whatever feeble attempt the NCAA could have otherwise made to enforce its rules. At that point, it was over. You couldn't do it. You couldn't enforce any rules. There were no rules the NCAA could enforce. Now, this is something that, that's the thing with this settlement is like when these schools try to act like, which they will, that these rules don't apply to you. Well, you agreed to this settlement, right? You signed on to this deal. This wasn't. That's the thing people got to remember. This wasn't a judge coming down from on high, waving her magic wand and saying, this is the rule of the land now. This was a plaintiff suing the NCAA, which the NCAA is made up by its institutions, by its members. And the two parties, the plaintiffs and the NCAA, agreed to a settlement, which means the institutions agreed to this. Now, again, I still think, as we're talking about, when it's your school in the crosshair, you're going to be calling your lawyers and trying to figure out how you can get out of this. Even if the schools say that's not what they're going to do now, I mean, call me callous and jaded, but I believe that's what they're going to do.
I can't wait for the Balls to be like, yes, punish us now.
Yeah.
Sure, that'll go well.
The only way they'll do that is if they want to fire a coach again. But
that's true.
But yeah,
Jeremy Pruitt.
So the short answer to your question, Joe, is I think what I hear is this is something. This is more than existed before. I don't hear a lot of people believing, at least in the sober light of day, that this is a perfect solution and that this is sort of the final step, but it is a step.
Blake, I want to congratulate you as we kind of leave here. A couple weeks ago, it was a star-studded affair on the Paul Feinbaum program. I mean, Lane Kiffin was there. Kirby Smart was there. Blake Toppmeyer was there. Joe Rexrode was there. And Blake, as I'm watching this, had attire on appropriate of the beach. It was just a shirt. There was no ridiculous undershirt that he had on there. He looked like he was appropriate in his setting, Rexrode, with this big white T-shirt on under his polo. So, Blake, congratulations to you for having some style. We appreciate it.
I live in the Panhandle now, so this is just my day-to-day attire. That was just pulling stuff out of the closet.
Like Don Johnson out here.
So, yeah, it's not resort wear for me. That's just that's just my Friday night outfit there. So that wasn't hard. I did see Joe walking around with that cotton T-shirt on underneath the polo.
Bold move.
Yeah, it was a bold move.
It's a sweat catcher, man. It's a sweat catcher. I'm wearing the exact same thing today.
And then a sweat catcher, true.
Yeah, I don't want my nipples to get raw.
Thank you.
What do you want me to? I mean, that's it,
Yeah.
And there it is.
Maybe a dark blue could kind of work for you. That way you kind of get some some visual protection there, but you could ditch the undershirt.
I guess that's fair. I'll work on it.
Blake, great stuff, man. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Blake Toppmeyer from USA Today, our guest. We'll react to what he had to say there, plus some more news to get to in the NFL. We'll do that next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Appreciate Blake Toppmeyer for being with us in the last segment. Joe, we talked earlier about Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt not showing up to mandatory minicamp for both the Bengals and the Steelers, respectively. Well, you can add another one to the list. Diana Rossini putting it out there that Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver for Washington, is frustrated with contract negotiations and will not be attending minicamp. So add Terry McLaurin to the list of players that will not be showing up for minicamp as he's looking for another contract. He is entering the final year of his deal.
This works out perfectly for the Titans Twitter trade proposal I saw, I think yesterday, which was like Traylon Burks and a pick for Terry McLaurin. I think
Washington would be all over
all up on that.
Who wouldn't want Traylon Burks in Washington? Yeah. I mean,
Cam Ward said on a video game he's one of the best in the league.
It's true.
Maybe Jaden Daniels heard that.
I mean, it is going to be interesting to see what the conclusion that they come to with Terry McLaurin, who was good last year, right? Like, he's 29 years old. I think he'll be 30 in September. So again, he already got his first big deal, and now he's looking for the second one. So what's that going to look like with McLaurin? He had 82 catches last year, almost 1,100 yards, 4 yards short of 1,100, 13 touchdowns. So obviously a huge part of Jay Daniels and his success in his rookie year. So, I mean, I would have to assume, Joe, that they're probably going to find a way to get a deal done at some point here, but not as of the moment. Apparently the discussions and negotiations have frustrated Terry McLaurin to the point where he's not showing up to minicamp.
Yeah, if I'm Washington, I got to have Scary Terry.
I mean, the combination of him and Debo this year could be interesting.
Yeah.
Especially if Debo Samuel's healthy,
Right.
which has been a problem lately. But if he's healthy,
Exciting.
those two together could be pretty darn good.
Absolutely. So that's one that I think is posturing right now and take a little bit of fines, and that'll get worked out.
I would agree. The Hendrickson one, I don't know.
Hendrickson one may have to eat some humble pie.
Yeah, I mean, even TJ Watt, right? Like, TJ Watt is going to be 31 in October. Now, TJ Watt, when he's been healthy, which again, injuries have kind of been a problem for him at times too. But when he's been healthy, I mean, he's right there in the category to me with Myles Garrett. Like, it's kind of those two guys.
And it's with them, it's different from the Bengals, but it's the same in terms of, okay, so you signed up for this year of Aaron Rodgers. So, you're going for it. You didn't pay a ton to Aaron Rodgers. Good for you. It's probably about the right number, but still, if you're going to do that, like, you need your best players.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of amazing when you look back at his career to this point, the production that TJ Watt has had.
He's insanely good.
Yeah. I mean, he started his second year in the league. He had 13 sacks, and he went on a run of 13, 14 and a half, 15, 22 and a half in a 4-year span. Now, the 22 and a half was in 2021. So that was a long time ago, but he had 19 in 2023. He had 11 and a half last year. And I think he played in every game last year, but he had some stuff that he was playing through. So I don't know, maybe the days of him being a 15, 16, 17, 19 sack guy are behind him. I have no idea if they are or not. I still think if he's completely healthy, that guy can do some damage on a quarterback out there.
He's unblockable with one guy if he's 80% healthy. So that alone, what kind of difference does that make, to your defense?
Yeah, you would think a
gigantic,
pretty significant one. But those are three guys that we have seen throughout the course of the show this morning that are not expected to show up the minicamp. Some conversation about Jeffrey Simmons. To me, there's no reason why Jeffrey Simmons wouldn't be there at minicamp. So I'm fully expecting him to be there at minicamp.
Oh, yeah. I don't. We asked Justin Melo that earlier. I wasn't suggesting I thought he would not be there.
For sure,
I just figure, it will be interesting to hear what he says, because I don't think it's a complete nothing burger that he, as we've talked about, that he didn't go to the voluntary stuff. I mean, this is if things are going well in your franchise and you got everything kind of set and you know the leadership structure, and like, okay, run it back. Let's go. Let's make another run. That's one thing. That's not the situation with this team. And the situation with Jeffrey Simmons is a lot of skepticism about whether he's actually a leader. You don't aid that. You don't aid yourself in that by missing voluntary stuff.
I would agree. I mean, I guess really the interesting contract situation that they've got heading into this year, like Roger McCreary. Roger McCreary, I think you would agree, has been a good player for the Titans for the most part to this point. I'm interested to see what the dollar amount's going to be that he's going to get in his extension, what the Titans are willing to go to with him, and the year that he has this year. Obviously, like I would agree, Justin Melo said, I don't know that Roger McCreary's got enough leverage to like sit out from minicamp to come show up and try to negotiate a new contract. Probably would not be the greatest idea from him. He's been good. I'm interested to see how they view him at the end of this year with now a front office that did not draft him.
Yeah, it's a really interesting because he's a young, good, pretty healthy, durable player.
Yes.
And you've
not perfect.
You've been
out
out
flaws.
Yeah, you've been out there trying to sign this veteran, trade for that veteran, things like that. You can't just constantly live on. I mean, to me, it's like sign your own player, even if you didn't draft him. Ideally, here and there, as opposed to just constantly hoping you can keep drafting guys / pick up guys off the street. So I think it should be a priority. But yeah, I mean, it's not a big money deal.
No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, friend of the show. We got him to sing on here a couple of times. Maybe we can get him back.
Yeah. Maybe we can do that again if he gets a new deal. What was he singing again? I mean, I know he had the Baked Beans thing.
Yeah.
He's sang more than once on this show.
I believe he has sung twice on this program.
He has
which
sung,
is probably
he
why
has sang.
he has sang.
He has sung.
He has done the act of singing on this program, I believe, 2 times, which is probably why he's not been back on.
Maybe we can get once we have Vrabel on, which I know it's going to happen soon, and we can get them together, do a little duet.
Vrabel,
a reunion.
NWI, Roger McCreary coming up on the program at some point.
Florida Georgia line.
That does it for us today. Chase and Big Joe up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.